Hey Susan, how are you doing? Thank you for inviting me out here. It's a busy market today. It's a wonderful rainy day in Nashville, Tennessee. But my name is Sizwe Herring, and I am a child of this earth. At the time of this turning of this century, at a wonderful time where this ecozoic era is being birthed. So, as part of that rebirthing, I've done a lot of work in the city with teaching people about soil mainly. And where there's soil, there's vegetation. Where there's vegetation, there's food, there's medicine, there's building materials, there's everything that you need. Where there's healthy soil, there's healthy communities. So we've been doing, through my nonprofit, which is now known as New Earth Matters, we have diverted tons and tons of leaves every fall to composting, in which we mixed food waste, which of course there's no such thing as waste, so I don't even use the word waste. Sometimes it slips out, but there's no such thing as waste. When I say waste, there's no such thing as waste. But we mix excess food with the leaves and create like thousands and thousands of pounds of compost every year at the George Carver Food Park, which was in South Nashville from 1992 to 2012.
Well, give us a little background. You mentioned in your childhood some ways that your family encouraged you toward the natural world.
Well, I'm the firstborn of three. We're born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, in the city. My dad's a former police officer who, after I was born, my mom insisted that he quit, but she couldn't sleep at night. But it was during the turbulent 60s, and my dad really wanted me to see what was going on in our communities. So in 68, he insisted to take me and my little brother out to see the fires, to see the people in the streets rebelling. And I just remember one time we were driving through, and of course he had us, down, but we heard all kind of like shots and fires, and I sort of remember like an explosion going off. And that forever sticks in my mind as far as what happens when people are so fed up and tired and feel so stepped on and downtrodden. So I grew up, the balance of that was my parents always let me have pets. So it started out with the little dime store turtles that you could buy. Y'all may remember them. But I got my first one, and I was just enthralled. I was like, I have to make a habitat for him. So I made a habitat, and I started getting more. I started saving my money, and I'd get more. And next thing you know, I'd have like an outdoor enclosure for him. And so I was always really into that. And that was at a very, very early age. And then my parents started letting me have like fish aquariums, and then as I got older with more responsibility, they started letting me have pets. So after about 10 years old, my parents let me have any kind of pet I wanted besides a snake, besides mice and rats. No mice, rats, or snakes. They let me have almost everything. So I had grown up with a whole cadre of pets, including breeding rabbits and gerbils, guinea pigs, hamsters even, birds of all kinds. And it gave me a deep connection with the natural world. And I think that's what you're asking me.
Yeah.
It gave me a sense of responsibility for the natural world, who can't speak, who can't vote, who can't say, listen, this air is starting to get bad. I can't breathe very well. Or this water, man, it's got so much pollutants in it. I can't feed my limbs or my branches anymore. Or, same thing with the pollution on the land, and also there is a real need for us to get back to the ways of our elders and to respect the natural world. And through rewilding and through deep ecology and permaculture, you get those kind of skills. And that's where I am now. I'm committed to not just teaching, but sharing and engaging people in understanding this relationship between us and the natural world.
Did your parents garden?
My mother did. My mother had a small plot, and we grew up in the back of the house in Detroit. And she nurtured it. She cared for it. She had some difficult times, and it was her solace. She loved her music. My dad was a big music lover too. His mama loved her music and her garden, and of course her kids. And my dad basically he had the family dog. He took, our family dog was his love, and he took really good care of that dog. Well, and then I remember we had a big grapevine in the back of our house that actually grew grapes. And we were very fortunate to have that growing in our backyard, because none of my neighbors, none of my friends had food growing in their yard on the fence like that. So it was like, wow, so I saw how she made the vegetables and the grapes. And of course my animals ate all the leftovers, so we didn't have any leftover food. So when I heard that Americans waste over 40% of the food in their households, I think, well, one, is it because the food is so bad that it tastes so horrible that we just throw it away? Or is it because we feel so privileged and affluent that we don't care, we just throw food away, it doesn't matter, we just buy more? Both are, I prefer the first to the latter, because food is bad. Food's, what you get in the supermarket is nothing like what you get here at the market, or with your farmer, with your neighborhood farmer, or your next door neighbor even. So yes, it's important that we come together in community and solve these problems for ourselves, so that things don't boil over like they have in many other cities. And because it seems to me like Nashville, but we're talking about rewilding, is really at a crux right now. It's at a precipice where we have to decide what kind of city we're going to be. Are we going to be a city for just the new Nashvillians, or are we going to respect and honor the people that made the city what it is, and not, boot them out to the suburbs, but embrace them as part of Nashville?
When I think of rewilding, I think of it in terms of spiritual aspect, and I know you're a deeply spiritual person. How do you connect your spirituality with your dealings with the earth, with the dirt?
Yeah. Well, thanks, because when I went to Tuskegee in 1978, thinking that I wanted to become a veterinarian. And I did pre-vet for a little while, and I realized it wasn't for me. While I was there, I learned more about George Washington Carver. We all learned Black History Month since we were kids. Peanut Man. But what I was able to do was go deeper and find out more about Dr. Carver and what he really meant to our community and to the world. And he was a deeply spiritual person. He's a strong Christian man. And I mean, he's seen some horrendous things done in the name of Christianity. Black people being hung just for being black. He witnessed this stuff. He's written it. And he says that he said it forever changed his life, but it made him realize even more how much we have in common instead of what we have not in common. So Dr. Carver was a very spiritual man that led me to a ministry, actually. I'm ordained in the practice of practical theology. It's a congregational church of people that have come together looking at practical ways to connect to a being or a connection with a higher power. And so involved in that liberation theology. And so when you bring up practical theology, liberation theology, the person in history that I glean to is Dr. Howard Thurman. And Dr. Howard Thurman was a very well-known interfaith pastor that Dr. King revered. Dr. King always had one of Dr. Thurman's books with him. And my pastor here in Nashville, Reverend Ed Sanders, our interdenominational church, Metropolitan Interdenominational Church, he has a quote from Dr. Thurman in every bulletin every week of every year at Metropolitan. So he's a big Thurman purse follower. So the reason I brought up Thurman and Carver, and then a few younger people, Alton Pollard, a few other people, but they all embrace mysticism, the science of mysticism, the religion of mysticism. They saw the magic in nature. They saw the magic in these trees and what they represent, how these trees stand here. And they were early tree huggers, you know what I mean? It was before we actually, as Africans, we always got along with nature. We always had a great relationship with nature. But as African Americans, that hadn't been brought over here. It hadn't been carried on. And the reason why is it was, some people, to be blunt, they say it was beat out of us. You know, but it's time for us, for our wounds to be healed, our injuries, and ask for God to heal us and move us forward and be enthused at what the exciting and fun part, the magic and mystery of nature, and what it means to us all every day, every breath we take.
Well, thank you. I do want to mention that I'm here with Sizwe Herring, and we're at the farmer's market on the outside because the inside was too loud, and I'm not so sure we got away from the noise, but really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I sure wish people would, look at Earth Matters, look at Sizwe Herring, follow us online, go to newearthmatters.org, get involved. Maybe have me out. I'd love to come and talk to your group, whether it's about composting or Dr. Thurman or Dr. Carver. That's what we're all about at New Earth Matters. So thank you.